Freja is completely busted right now, but why?
I want that trophy.
She's currently dominating the pro meta, and get ready, because while she might be broken,
she is such a bad bitch though.
I'm gonna teach you everything you need to know about her. Let's get into it. The first thing to understand is Freja's role in a comp. We've seen Freja being played with Lucio Kiri and a multitude of backlines in general, but in almost all instances, Freja is kinda playing as the lone wolf. In other words, she's taking her own angle. Updraft allows that because she can see everything, her dash gives her good escape options, and she's not limited by range. In the Lucio Kiri comp, you can see how she's playing alone to the left, with the Kiri Mauga down main and the Lucio Tracer to the right. Notice how she's not completely isolated from her Kiri, which is important, but she's taking a different angle and abusing her spam from distance. If we take a look at Korea, again you can see the three-pronged setup. Winston Ana to the left, the Freja playing by the elephant, and the Tracer Kiri flanking all the way around. Things aren't as clean when playing with the Brig, but again, you're seeing how Proud can actually take his own angle with relative safety. Now, this is all well and dandy, but it's not fully answering why Freja is so good. One of the reasons has to be the 1-2 punch combo, and just like the combo itself, Tree not only did this once, but twice to Seeker last weekend. Now, you might wonder how this is any better to Sojourn. In a single shot, Railgun just does more damage, plus his hit scan. Well, you're forgetting that while Sojourn only has one opportunity to hit that Railgun, Freja can get 2, 3, even 4 bolts, giving her way more leeway to burst down her targets. Obviously, this relies on your dashes, because your dash resets your bolts, giving you more damage. But I just said that your dash can also be a great escape tool against dive heroes. How do you know when to do which? Thankfully, I've devised this golden rule of Freja that, as far as I know, isn't public at all. It's actually quite simple. You want to generally use that first dash for damage, then your second dash to escape, or you want to have at least one dash to escape. This applies to most Freja duels or when you're taking a risky angle. This is also one of the big reasons as to why Seeker, a professional Overwatch player, got hard diffed by Tree. Focus on his dashes here. His first dash is to get another bolt, so for damage. His second dash is again used for damage. Then his third dash is also used for damage because he's trying to get a better angle for his bolts. This means that even though Tree is underneath Seeker, Seeker can't escape or dash out from that second bolt. You might think I'm cherry picking, but this isn't the only time. In this example from Tree's POV, it looks like he's got god tier reaction speed, and you're not wrong. But again, why is Seeker using his only remaining dash to gain extra damage when he's half HP? Just play by the car. That simple. In fact, so many Freja players are so obsessed with doing damage that they end up falling off the map. Bro's falling off harder than Marvel rivals. Thankfully, in this fight, Shockwave makes up for it. His first dash is used for damage, then when he realizes he's about to get cooked, he dashes back to the corner, which allows him to just about dodge that second follow-up arrow. But what about the major perk? Firstly, I have to say, just avoid the Relentless Barrage perk. Getting more rapid fire shots just isn't very useful. Comparatively, the extra dash on updraft mostly gives you free damage. Here, Shockwave updrafts and uses that extra free dash for more damage. He uses yet another dash for the exact same reason, but this time, Zydra lands a bolt onto Shockwave. Now, you would expect Shockwave to dash back to safety, but unfortunately, he just never got to use it, dying with a free dash. Speaking of perks, we need to talk about how underrated that wallhack perk is. Spend enough time in replays and you'll see how it directly leads to kills sometimes. Super useful when dueling a squishy because it helps you land that second follow-up shot. Before I continue, if you've learned something new, check out my Sparlow approved coaching on Metafy, as well as subbing for extra content and discounts. Now, there are obviously times where you can ignore the golden rule. This will be in situations where you just can't get punished if you use all your dashes for damage. Maybe you're playing very far away, so you're hard to reach, or you're just unscouted. On New Junk City, for example, because Zydra is playing in a position that makes it very hard for the enemy Freja, Orisa or Genji to actually punish him, he's able to freely use his dashes aggressively. Not to mention the obvious, but using dash for damage or escapes aren't mutually exclusive. You can do both. A nice little quirk about Freja as well is that you can also stay in the air for as long as you want by just min-maxing the slow motion. Maybe this will get changed if Freja gets nerfed. This allows especially creative players like Zydra to take these very unorthodox angles, which ends up in him doing that 1-2 combo to the Juno. Not to mention, he also blows up Fixer with the bolo shot too, and speaking of that 1-2 combo, Zydra does it yet again onto Shockwave. Honestly, I scripted this section with different things that Shockwave could have done, but the point here is that you can cancel the momentum of your updraft with a dash. Sometimes updraft can just put you in a bad position straight out in the open, which is kinda why pogo jumping on Baptiste is mostly a bad idea. In this example, Zydra does that momentum cancel in response to Shockwave's bolo shots, quickly getting him out of danger. A key thing with updraft as well is that just because you can stay in the air forever doesn't mean that you can waste it early. Here, Seeker pops the updraft and fires 2 bolts at the Brig. Seconds later, Seeker seemingly gets blown up out of nowhere, and that's because Chronic has an insane angle above him. Now, if you're an avid Capitology watcher, you'll know that Seeker should have gotten off the corner. In other words, Seeker should have swung the corner further away, but also, had Seeker used his updraft, he would have been able to see Chronic and dash away in time. Back to that Sojourn comparison, updraft allows you to take angles that Sojourn wishes she could take. For example, on Hollywood Attack, you can't see shit even if you've got Railgun. Comparatively, on Freya, you can temporarily take an angle high up and do some good damage. Speaking of doing damage, we need to talk about how secretly broken Bolo Shot is. Go look at any pro game, bookmark by the ultimates, and you can see that most players get around 3 to 4 ultimates every 10-minute game. But look at the Freya players, and that doubles to around 5 to 6 ultimates. Tracer is the only DPS hero that can match those numbers. So how do you actually use your bolo shot? Well, there's 2 things. Firstly, look to punish backline heroes that have walked up. Brig is often a good one. Secondly, take wide flanks and use your bolo shots to enhance the damage you're already doing. We can see some examples of the first type of bolo shots, where because Natsuki is pushed up very aggressively, Shockwave's able to land the bola, with Vestola finishing the kill. In this example that I brought up earlier, Zydra pops the bola when Fixer's walking up, leading to a free kill on Fixer. You might ask, how do I know when the backline's gonna walk? Well, if you've watched my Tracer video on Zura, you'll already know, but one case is when the frontline needs help. Look at Zydra beforehand. He's forcing out Vestola, and the Vestola clearly needs help judging by his HP. Therefore, Fixer needs to walk to help Vestola, but it's a catch-22. You either walk and get hit by Freya's bolo shots, or you don't walk and Freya just blows up your tank anyways. Now, I have to give credit to Zydra for how good his flanking bolas are. I honestly don't need to give much analysis here, it's just a really well-timed flank. Don't forget that vision perk coming in clutch too. Some of you might be watching this and wondering, how do I deal with this broken hero? Well, to put it short, it's Sombra. Freya's low HP in comparison to Sojourn or Cassidy, paired with no CC, makes her very hard to punish Sombra. She can also translocate out from the explosion part of your burst shots. There's no better example than the game from Zeta Division and Falcons, which maybe had more issues than the Sombra. Anyways, you can see Pelican coming out of Invis and just burning down Merit, and there's not much he can really do about it. Even when Merit does actually live the Sombra in the fight after, Banar's able to finish Merit because the Sombra zoned him off. In fact, Pelican is so comfortable playing into Freya that he commits Translocator to force him out at basically no risk to himself. Sombra is such a big issue for Freya that when Freya gets banned, you see no Sombra, implying just how good of a matchup Sombra actually has. Now, I know in Ranked, Sombra is a very popular ban, but Tracer, to a lesser extent Genji, and on certain maps, Venture or Reaper, are also decent options too. Just high mobility heroes that can punish Freya at little risk or zone her out entirely. Anyways, check out this video on screen if you enjoyed this one, and check out my coaching too. Until next time.